Hey guys, and welcome to my part of this amazing conference. I'm really sad that this is only remote, but I think we're gonna have a good time anyway. So welcome to my talk today. It is about growing beyond Amazon, and I want to show you today what our answer is to growing beyond Amazon and why we think additive manufacturing and 3D printing are one of the probably most overlooked opportunities currently within e-commerce. And yeah, let's jump into it. So the project I want to talk about today is what you see in the back behind me for a bit. And this is Enable 3D, as we call it. I'm going to talk about our brand, our original brand, a little bit later on. But first of all, I want to talk about Enable 3D. So what we did, we are selling tools, and we started to create perfectly and dedicated 3D printable accessories for our products. And as you probably know, it's very difficult to distribute those items on Amazon. So therefore, we went for a couple of different products and marketplaces beyond Amazon. And we see that there's a very interesting opportunity right now to get into additive manufacturing. And I want to use the chance today to show you a bit about it, give you a small look behind the scenes, how we did it, on which marketplaces we are active, and maybe why additive manufacturing is so hot right now. So very, very basically about additive manufacturing, or as you probably know it as 3D printing, is the good thing is it's meanwhile a very proven technology with a sufficient infrastructure in place. What does it mean? So basically there is already a good installed base of 3D printers among your customers and among your Amazon customers already. And often you gain access to a very interesting and very profitable tech-oriented target group. So of course it depends on what kind of products you have. So if you, for example, have products normally for your brand which are dedicated to an older target group or maybe to senior people, then it might not be the best. But for most consumer-oriented products, you should really have a look if your target group might not be interested into 3D printing. And if you can access, or if you could access a new target group with 3D printing, which is probably the way we did it. And the really nice thing is that during the last years, many marketplaces, very, very similar to the logic of Amazon, have emerged in the meantime, and it is and it's still very early. It's probably like Amazon 5 to 6, 7, 8 years ago, where you don't have much competition. There are very few brands on the sites, and it's pretty much an open space. So I think if I would make it more interesting for you, I would say there are 3 primary benefits. And if you want to have a look at the benefits is for you from a perspective of a brand, my and our opinion here is that first of all you gain new revenue streams, which is super, super important to be less dependent on Amazon, because you're not able to distribute 3D printed designs or 3D designs on Amazon currently. It's very, very complicated. Therefore, if you want to go for digital and physical products, it's a really good opportunity to gain new revenue streams on the one hand. In addition, there's a good opportunity to enlarge your portfolio to products which maybe for which are, for example, very, very specialized, which don't make sense in a traditional manufacturing manner. So therefore, they are perfectly suitable for 3D printing. And what's very interesting in this area, especially if you're selling digital products, is that often you have lower prices on the one hand, but you have much higher margins because your product costs are basically zero. And that's something that can be very, very valuable to a brand, that you have a better balance between physical goods, digital goods, and to have a better average margin. So this is something you should really, really look into. The second aspect is, especially for many young brands, this is super attractive, is that most of the 3D printing business cases are asset-light models. So what does it mean? Basically, it means that you don't have to build many assets, you don't have to buy inventory, you don't have to buy infrastructure, but you can access everything that is already available. So, for example, what you do is you leverage the printer infrastructure of your customer, or, for example, the printer infrastructure of third-party services. You don't have any inventory, you don't have any storage costs. And it's a very efficient way to start and scale up. So this is probably more an advantage for younger brands and people even starting, especially in a time now where it's getting more and more competitive and more difficult to start new brands. And the screenshot you can see below is a very interesting example I found on Etsy. And if you, for example, are searching for golden rings on Etsy, many of those are very interesting examples of 3D printed asset-light business models, because most of the things you can see over there are not already produced, but they are even for higher value materials and metals. They are meanwhile produced via 3D printing. And all of those haven't been produced yet. It's an asset-light model, and I think it's very, very interesting and a contrasting model to the previous Amazon produce somewhere in Asia, buy it, ship it, and sell it via Amazon. So it's an interesting model you should have a look into. And the third reason is image. I think every brand can participate and benefit from additive manufacturing, because you're signaling to your customer base that you are offering something beyond the simple product. You have something for the press to talk about your brand, to tell a story to your customer. And for us, this worked very, very well. We even managed to get into Business Insider, which normally for a tool brand which would have been very, very difficult. And it's a very good story to tell, because for most of the people, additive manufacturing, although it's very, very proven, still seems like some kind of future technology. So those are definitely the three primary benefits you can leverage for your brand. So who is the person talking all about that? What's this brand all about? Let me give you a brief overview. So my name is Manuel Siskowski. I'm the CEO and founder of WIESEMANN 1893. We are a digital brand, or a DTC brand, from Germany. And we are active on Amazon in Europe, and meanwhile also in the US. We are primarily selling tools, and those are primarily hand tools. And for our customers, there's always the question later on in the customer journey, how do I store them? And our answer to that was always 3D printing, and I'm going to explain you how that exactly looks like. So I brought you a couple of figures, but for most of you familiar with Amazon, this is very, very normal. We have customers in around 30 countries. We have around 125 physical products, and meanwhile we have around 90 digital products with 3D printed stuff. Here on the slide you still have 5,000. We are probably already around into the 15,000 downloads. We don't work with any distributors, so very, very strictly according to the DTC model. And we have around 1/3 of B2B sales. So what does our project or offering to the customer look like? So basically what we are offering is, for every tool we are selling, we are offering the perfectly designed tool holder. We have them for the wall, we have them as some kind of stands for the table, and basically what we are trying is to always offer a perfectly build solution directly from the manufacturer, from us. And it's working very, very well. And due to the technology of 3D printing, we are able to make all of those holders much more specialized, because there are many accessories in the market which are built, which are not very specifically designed, but which are more general, where you can store several tools in them, because from the degree of manufacturing in a traditional way, it doesn't make any sense to make them super specialized. But due to the technology and the asset-light model at the end of the day, and the low warehousing costs, which are none, it makes sense for us to make them super specialized. And this is something which is a huge benefit for the customer at the end of the day, because he gets something from us which is not buyable in the market. You can't get it even if you're paying very, very high prices. But for us and our business model, it is very interesting and very lucrative to sell them to the customer, or even give him give him for free, more on a branding side. And our approach is that we are saying there's always a free accessory available, and we are restricting them on the wall holders, for example. So all of the holders concepted for the wall, they are for free, and everything above is a paid design. And therefore we are trying to see how far the willingness to pay of the customer is for a very specialized design. And that's something we have to experiment with, because it is something that hasn't been tested before, and probably for your brand, everyone has to test it out himself, how well it works. And for all of you who don't know how it works from a customer perspective, it's very, very easy. So the first step is you have to get the design. You can get them from marketplaces, or you can get them directly from our store, which is very interesting because we can get people with the traffic from Amazon who are buying on Amazon into our store, where they can download it, because currently it's not possible to store those accessories on the Amazon listing, and therefore it's the only option that they are buying them on there, or they are downloading them on our store. And then the next step, you just download, you open them, you put them into a slicing software, which basically just defines how they are printed. You start the printer, and in our way, you put them to the wall in this example, or you put the stand on your table, or somewhere in your drawer, somewhere where you need them. And then that's basically it. Then you can perfectly store your tool, and it's really very easy. Most of the holders need a printing time between 2 hours, and in a maximum it's maybe 8 hours for very complicated and big product designs. So something that we have never thought about in the first place, but which is very interesting from a scientific point of view, without boring you, or without trying to bore you now, but is that we are creating a huge shift in the value chain, because as I already told about the traditional way of selling stuff on Amazon, which is produce them somewhere externally, store them, ship them, and get them to the customer. The process is very different, because now you have all the cost basically stored into your design, which you have to spend first. Then you are not bothered at all with the production, but you are only bothered with distributing the digitally distributing the design to the customer, and then the customer takes care of the production by printing it. So this is already commonly known as co-production, but you just have to bear in mind that at the end of the day, you are only responsible for the design, but you don't have a lot of influence on the production side. So this is something, especially for luxury brands, which is very, very difficult to control, because in many cases you don't have access, or you don't have control over the quality of the end product. So this definitely has to be bear in mind. I just wanted to tell you that especially for high price items, this can be very difficult. All right, so let's have a look how we did our rollout. So we did a little PR campaign, which worked very, very well, because it was something new. I can only recommend that to you. Then all of the designs are available in our own shop. But as our shop is primarily in German, it was a great step also to go on major platforms. Just to give you an overview, the biggest platform is Thingiverse, and then there are a couple of different ones. And we tested out around 10 platforms, but at the end of the day, we stick to 3 platforms, which we are taking care of, and it works very, very well for us. So how do those platforms look like? Because the interesting thing is those platforms are very, very similar to Amazon. So they already also have a catalog, you have a product detail page or design detail page, and I brought you here an example of Cults, which is a page where you can also sell paid designs. I think there you are able to sell free designs or donate free designs, and also have paid designs. So we are using this page for both models, and it works very, very similar. You just have a search bar just like Amazon, and you have a result page, and it's also some kind of algorithm with keyword optimization, but it's not that advanced as it is in the Amazon sphere already. And if you are on the product detail page, of course, you have some on-site optimization, you have a review scheme, and you have a price setting. And as I said before, you have to bear in mind that you have to take lower prices, but basically you have a 100% margin, you have a very small share you have to give to the marketplace. And all in all, that's basically it. It's very easy to set up. You don't have you have a lower problem rate with all those tags, warehousing, operation problems. So this is definitely something, especially in the current times, which is really, really nice. And then there's something I would like to tell you about, which you could think of, which is on the one hand a way to save a bit of money and to get your community involved as well. Because at the beginning we tried to involve our community a bit more, and we offered them to propose their own designs, to make some kind of design contests, and then we set up our community development program, which is a huge success meanwhile. So basically 16% of our designs have been designed not by us, but by the community. And this is like to give the people a feeling that they are more involved, that they are part of the creation process, and that they also get credited. So if a customer is downloading something which has been created by someone from our community, we always give a credit. We always say that who was the designer, who basically is getting the credit. And this is something, especially for our social media channels, which you can use very, very well. And this is something where you can give your brand also a bit of a deeper meaning with a higher degree on community focus. So this is definitely something to bear in mind, and maybe a tip from our side, which worked very, very well. And yeah, for us, we are still focusing on additive manufacturing. So for 2021, we are also focusing on something for our B2B customers, and we have recently launched our community printing service for all the customers involved who don't have a 3D printer yet. So we are trying to become a bit of a platform ourselves, and we think that it's a worthwhile investment in the meantime, and something you should have a look into for your brand. And if you still have any questions, the best way to contact me probably is LinkedIn. Just feel free. If you have some questions about 3D printing and maybe our journey with WIESEMANN 1893 and how we got into it. And yeah, have a great rest of the conference, and thanks for joining.